Oh my gosh. Well, it's so nice to meet you.
You too.
Tell me more about yourself.
Um, as far as how we're having this interview.
Well, I mean, sure that, but maybe like what your hobbies are, like just, let me get to know you a
Well,
little bit.
honestly, I was raised with homework and chores, and went to work as a teenager, and I was married at 18, and some
Same.
some years later, 5 years later, had my child, and through different things, I ended up being a single mother, and I had a career, and then I was becoming a little disillusioned by that, and I was sick for many years, and I wasn't getting any answers, and I was always looking for answers. So anyway, I was going through just being disillusioned with work and different things happening in my life, and so um, I had another major trauma,
Hmm.
and I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening.
Oh,
So at the time, I had no idea what that was. I had studied a little bit of Hinduism and Buddhism, you know. Well, now I guess it's like about 25 years ago, and I mean, I knew different things a little bit, about the chakras and different things, and I just recently, within the year or two before um, the the awakening, learned a little bit here about Reiki, not too much, and energy healing, but I was always clear cognizance and clear sentience as a child, but I didn't really know what that was. And so I did not know what happened to me. And so um, a series of things happened, and all of my clairs and everything were coming in so, oh my God, intense. And, uh, and so I know that's where the levitation came from. And, I didn't know, I mean, I had everything like the clairaudience, I had the telepathy, I was hearing other people's thoughts, I could communicate with someone else that I was close to. But I'll be honest with you, there were other things happening, and it was very frightening. Um, because I hadn't met anyone at the time yet that really was like, Reiki master, and even she, through synchronicities, meeting her as a massage therapist, and then finding out she was a Reiki master. Then I was introduced to different people in this field of energy work and all of these things. So I, um, so I just I had all these things happening, and I was raised very Catholic. And so at some point, and the two people that I contacted that could discuss these things with, we really thought that maybe I was being possessed. You're freezing a little. Oh, you're freezing.
yeah, I see. I'm gonna turn my video off, but continue.
Okay. So I just want to make sure you hear me. So, so I, yeah, so actually we thought that I was possessed, and actually contacted the church to have an exorcism. So, um, anyway, I don't know that you want to hear everything, but all these things
Wow.
were happening. Yes, all these things were happening, and then I thought that with the levitation was like the thing that sent me over, but it was a horizontal levitation. It was, not vertical from standing up, and that was not even like on my mind as something that would be happening too, along with all these other things. But what also happened was, at the time I was living before this place, I was living in an apartment that was very old, and things were happening. Like I would smell coffee brewing, which I hadn't had in over 20 years because I couldn't drink it. I drink tea, and I would, I
Actually,
would,
me too.
I would smell cigar smoke in the garage. There was an attached garage, and I didn't really trip off it. I knew it was weird, but I've always had different things happen that I didn't, really like panic about. But these other things that were happening to me were really, frightening at the time. And then what happened was I was being physically attacked by a spirit that uh, was in the apartment around that area, but
When
I
you
didn't
levitated?
and yes, this was happening before I levitated.
Okay,
And
okay.
so that's what kind of made me and a couple other people think that maybe I was being possessed kind of like by this spirit.
Yeah,
We
and I've been, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've
no, go
been
ahead.
researching like different aspects of it, and there are, of course, like the spirit possession levitations and Claire like Buddhic and Hinduism levitations where it's actually like a really light energy, but I know those do exist, so I want to incorporate all of it in my research, you know what I mean?
Okay, okay. So this is what, thank you for saying that. So this is what we thought. Um, because really, like I said, I had no idea. And I did not find out there was actually, a spirit that was he was murdered on the property was, like 100 years previously. So it was through the synchronicities of meeting this first massage therapist. It was a Reiki master that opened me up to the progression of meeting different people and getting into the more of this serious spiritual realm and energetic work and all of these things.
Wow. Wow,
Yes.
okay.
So there's a lot more in between, but for the sake of time, we can go into that later, at some other point if you're interested in all of it. But
Yeah, yeah, but
so
for now, sorry to cut you off
yes,
again.
no, the levitation
Yeah,
part.
yeah. What was your experience of the levitation? Like, were you conscious during it? What did it feel like? If you can recount,
Okay,
like
yes.
everything.
So it happened several times over several months. So what happened was, is okay, I had the awakening, and then all these other, things were happening and coming in very intensely. And then I also should say that yes, and before I knew about energetic healing and other things, I had a minor surgery and I was put under anesthesia. So that was about 4 weeks after the awakening. And then about 2 weeks after that is when the levitation started happening. So I also ended up, getting I guess a lower vibration. And so I think a combination of the Kundalini awakening and then something happened with, finding out it was later about the spirit, but I already knew that like there was something going on. I was being physically attacked. And I already knew, I always believed in like ghosts and spirits. I always just knew, right? So I think it's a combination of after the Kundalini awakening, all these things coming into being and this spirit attacking me. And then, I truly believe the levitation could have been part of the Kundalini and all of that energy. But I thought at the time, and so did a couple other people, that maybe this, there was something else going on because I was being attacked that was possibly possessing me to do the levitation. So I really, still, it's not clear to this day, but it was horizontal. I was going through so much that I had to just like try to, which I can't turn my mind off. Meditation's hard, but anyway. So I was laying in my room trying to just find a sense of peace and calm. And the first time was about 6 weeks after the Kundalini awakening and 2 weeks after the surgery, being under anesthesia and being attacked, with the spirit on my property. But and it was horizontal. I was laying down and I was trying to quiet my mind, and I could just feel like some strange energy, and I could feel myself. It was very gentle, but I could feel myself literally rising. And I, of course, as usual, with something like that,
Wow,
I
wow.
freaked out. I freaked out. And it wasn't high. I mean, it was no more than not even barely a foot. You know what I mean? But still, to never have anything, and I'd already been experiencing these things. So in a way,
Right, right.
it was kind of like, oh my God, what else is happening to me? Right. So it was from a horizontal position, and it did not last long. And it's not like I fell. It's kind of like uh just, I think once the panic set in, and you get the energy, you interrupt whatever's going on. I think that's my experience of it, and feeling is that I lowered back. But
Yeah. And
so
I've
it
had
happened several times over several months more, I don't know, like frequency was, I don't know, maybe I don't want to say once a week, but it was like several times for, I don't
Wow.
know, maybe like about 5 months. I'd say from, let's see, it first started happening at the end of April, and then I think through at least the end of September, October. So that many, months. It
No
was,
kidding. So what was the change that happened when it stopped happening?
I think, not number one, gaining more information, being around, connected with more people in the spiritual realm that had the gifts, and uh not being afraid, because I'm always very mostly left analytical brain. And so I'd been doing research. I figured out myself I had the Kundalini Awakening. I'm like, and so I think just through synchronicities and meeting more people, it took quite some time to, and even when I was meeting these people, they all weren't quite, sure.
Yeah, yeah,
It could have been, like I said, it could have been the energy from the Kundalini Awakening, or it
yeah.
could have been this spirit that I was actually being physically attacked. And even when I was in the kitchen with a knife in my hand, I felt like it was a struggle. And I don't want to get into it, but
Right.
how it works. But I was also being sexually attacked. It was
Oh,
awful. It was, people talk like, "Oh, you're crazy," I mean, it's not something
oh,
I tell
no, but
everyone.
I understand that actually. I don't think I've ever been like legitly attacked like that, but I can definitely conceptualize how that would happen.
It's all energetic, but the force is
Yep.
like a physicality that you are feeling in your body.
Right, right,
Okay.
right,
That's the best way to explain it. And it was the scariest one, like I said, was when I was over the kitchen the one afternoon, and I had a sharp knife. I was, I don't know, peeling fruit or whatever. Anyway, so it was very scary. And um yeah, there were just other things going on. I don't want to get into all the other things in the sexual aspect, but just the physical aspect of things. It was very scary. And so my vibration was very low. And I also know that, obviously from learning that when your vibration is lower, um, and I
you
was
can be
drawing people.
susceptible to attack. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So
Right.
that
Right.
is how the levitation came about. I believe it's a combination from, obviously the spontaneous Kundalini awakening, the energetics of it, which opens a lot of things. And then also the spirit that was stuck, uh, on the property.
Right,
I
right.
actually had somebody work with them later, much later on, to get them to the other side. But it was very scary. I lived by myself at the time. It was, well, I do
So
now.
were you scared every time you levitated?
Um, no, I was, no, after, like, I guess after a couple of months, I'm more of a, what the hell is happening type person.
Yeah.
Like I said, the left brain. But in the beginning, yes, I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear with the Kundalini awakening. It was after another major trauma I had, that led me onto this journey. And I believe it was really the universe's way of waking me up to who I'm supposed to be, which I'm still working on, clearing out things from the past to even be on a higher vibration. It's been a long journey, man. I'm like,
Yeah, these things typically are.
wow, I'm just talking about from the awakening and not knowing anybody really. And even when I met people that were doing energy work, nobody had any clue what was happening to me. I was doing my own research, and then finally, obviously through time, I found other people that, and then the people I did find,
Yeah.
like, fascinated. And I'm like, I was scared, and I was being
Right,
attacked.
right. I mean, it's a new experience and it's very physical too, and it like literally
Yes,
defies everything you think you know. So
exactly. And so the levitation, initially, I was very afraid. And like I said, I wasn't sure if it was just from the energetics that was running through me, of the, because it could have been the energetics of the Kundalini awakening or the spirit that was there that was attacking me. So I really don't know. I'm thinking at this point it's probably the energetics, and I was not possessed. And I won't get
Okay.
into how I followed through on that because I don't know how long you want this interview to be. But
Yeah, well, I want to go ahead and say, like you can probably realistically claim that it is one way. Like you can claim that it is, your Kundalini awakening instead of having like giving the power over to that spirit if you wanted to. Not that it would be any which way, because the past, it's the past right now. Like it has no hold over this future moment. This present
right,
already
right,
determines
absolutely
everything. You know
not.
what I mean?
Right, absolutely. I personally think it was the Kundalini energy. Um,
Yeah.
but at the time, like I said, because I also was
Of course, yeah. So it could have,
being
yeah.
armed, that, that's what initially, I thought it was. And,
Right. And
I think it
I'd
was
venture
the
to say,
Kundalini energy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'd venture to say too, like usually when I've had the first couple people say about their experience, they were surprised, but they weren't exactly fearful. So if there was a lot of fear elements in it, like it could have been maybe even that it was the Kundalini energy, but that entity was around you
Right,
influencing your fear. So,
right. No, totally. By that time, I wasn't afraid of the Kundalini energy. I knew that it was something major and spiritual and all that, and I was doing research. But when I started becoming, physically attacked, uh, about a month, 5 weeks, maybe or so after that, 4 or 5 weeks, um, then I knew that was something totally different. And like I said, as far as the levitation, like, over the years, I truly believe it was just, the Kundalini energy and different things. But at that particular time, for, probably 6 weeks, I wasn't sure if it was the spirit that was
right,
attacking me or just the Kundalini energy.
right. Okay. Well, thank you. That gives me a lot to work with. But I did also want to ask, if you had particularly any advice to give to a person who was looking to levitate. I know your levitation experience didn't really come out of you actively trying to do it, but just from
Right.
your
Well,
personal
I'm
experience.
fascinated that people actually want to do this.
Yeah.
So when I first met you and you and Zanko, we're on the show, but I was like, oh my God, like why do people want to do this? So my suggestion would be that first of all, are people that are trying to do this, are they able to control their energy? How are they doing this? And if you're going to do this, you're going to be levitating up and at some point coming down. So if you don't have control, my best advice from a practical standpoint is make sure you have plenty of room and you have safety,
Right, right,
right?
right,
I personally don't know anyone else that's levitated, whether it's like mine horizontally or vertically. I know maybe obviously you do with what you're doing, but I would say safety, because if you don't have control of that energy, you're gonna, could be.
yeah. You don't want to go too high and then come down
Well,
fast.
that's what I'm saying. And even if you're out in nature, you're gonna hit, if you're gonna hit hard if you don't have control. I mean, I'm not familiar with people that are doing this. Obviously, you are. So I don't know what sense, what their gifts are, what their sense or capacity for
Right, right.
controlling the energy and controlling that is. But until they do, or even when they're doing it, I would say safety number one, really.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that pretty much concludes everything that the questions that we had. And thank you, because that was very detailed. I feel like I understood where you were coming from, what your kind of mindset was at the time, and what you were feeling in your body. And that's kind of what we're trying to track, is these different states, these different energetic states. So far with the few people that we have interviewed,
Mm-hmm.
when we've heard about them talk about it in the positive experiences, it's started in their heart, and it's like a lightness that they've felt in their heart, like a weightlessness there, and then it kind of spreads through the rest of their body. And then The two
Is
people,
that for the levitation or the Kundalini?
the levitation.
Okay, okay.
And then when they've come back down, the two people have recounted that they've actually hit some kind of air pocket and then dropped to the floor. So
Oh, so
it's
somebody
like,
was actually there. Something was happening to break their fall or
yeah,
their
like there's
landing.
some kind of safety net I've heard from two people. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, which is
Well,
interesting.
that's good. I wouldn't, for people looking to do that, I wouldn't just assume that is going
Right.
to happen, right?
Right, right. You want to start indoors, I'd probably say.
Right.
Although my teachers from Russia who actually teach levitation suggest that outside is best at
So
most.
you don't have a ceiling.
Yeah, but
Yeah, right.
just because the energy connection to the earth too,
It's more
you want that to
stronger,
be strong.
right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
but then also you can have, a rope tethered to you as well that's only 3 feet high, and then some
Oh,
pillows
I
or
see, I
whatever.
see. Wow,
Yeah,
so people are really into this.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's really fascinating.
is this just for the experience? I mean, is there some
Well,
particular?
I like to think of levitation as like a literal format for you and any other person to conceptualize like a true freedom. Because if you're freeing yourself from gravity, that's like
Right,
the
right,
craziest kind of, and anytime
right.
anyone dreams of being free, they're flying. So I would love to have a world where everybody learns how to fly and we learn how to just like get these supernatural abilities that is really just us tapping into our creative power
Right,
that's already
right,
there. It's there for us to
right.
take
I
advantage
think
of. But
actually it's also going to be like, teleporting.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like our, physical body. So I just, I've never met someone like so enthused and I just love your energy. But this
Oh,
has been
thank
very
you.
like interesting and enlightening for me too. So, so like I
Amazing.
said, in the beginning there was fear. Later on there was not, but it was, a totally spontaneous thing. It's not something that I tried to do, and I had the benefit of having major cushion under me, and it wasn't more than a foot. So
Right, right.
but I find it very
Amazing.
fascinating that people are actually trying to do this. So
Cool.